Mr. President, just the significance of the AGL sponsorship. Obviously, you know, the women and men's football of AFCON, just how significant is to get this collaboration again?
It's very important because we need to make sure that we significantly increase the financial resources for football clubs and for national teams in every one of the 54 nations in Africa. And a huge part of that money will go to football academies, will go to development structures for boys and girls, and also some of the money that we distribute to the member associations. We are confident that will contribute to players and coaches earning competitive salaries. Because if we compete against the best in the world, we've got to make sure that we have some resources that enables us to stand on our own and perform very well.
The men's AFCON is obviously going to Morocco. It's a highly developed country itself. Are you expecting this to be far better than the previous AFCONs, you know, going to a country like Morocco?
I must say I'm very proud of the hard work and the sacrifices that were made to ensure that AFCON Cote d'Ivoire was the enormous success it is. And I'm absolutely confident that the AFCON in Morocco is going to be the most successful. The feedback I'm already receiving from the preparations that are taking place, very encouraging. And what I also like is we stand a very good chance of ensuring that AFCON Morocco is even more profitable than AFCON Cote d'Ivoire. And as I've said on numerous occasions, every cent of the money that we hope to make from AFCON Morocco must go to the 54 member associations, football development for youth, boys and girls, and also infrastructure. And particularly in those countries where they still play football outside their country because they don't have a stadium that's at the CAF and FIFA standards and levels.
Mr. President, earlier on you touched on the issue of clubs and national teams hosting matches outside of their own countries. Obviously, you can't dictate to countries how to spend their money, but I'm sure it's something that it needs to be sorted out soon. That national teams must play at home.
You're asking such an important question, and that's why we also monitor how that money is used. And part of our monitoring is to make sure that the issue of playing in your country is essential. And it is, we cannot develop football in those countries where their national teams and the football clubs have to play outside. So I'm confident, and part of what as I said, I'll be in Ghana on Saturday, and the week thereafter I'll be in Morocco for the futsal, and then I'll be proceeding to America for the club football preparations. But the point is, and then of course, quite apart from that, I've got duties to the companies that pay my salary and shareholders. But the point I was going to make is part of my visits over the next few months is to get some of the governments where the national, where there isn't a stadium that's at the CAF and FIFA level. And I must say, I've really been impressed how we've succeeded to present the case, because I don't think a good job was done in the past to explain to the head of state, to explain to the government, to explain to the cabinet why spending some money on a stadium is beneficial, because it's beneficial for the country and for sport. I do understand some of them look at, we've got health challenges. We need to use money for hospitals. We need to use money to build houses. We need to use our finances for schools, and the budgets are limited. I fully understand it, and we are trying to assist with our contributions from CAF, as well as the money that comes from FIFA, and that's why we're trying to get more and more the private sector involved. But it's a very important point you've raised, and we're making progress, and I think we'll make even more progress in the medium to long term.
President, the other issue that you touched on is fan violence in stadiums that you've got a 0 policy. What other measures are you going to take to ensure that it does not happen in the future? And another issue that I want if you can just touch on it for us. We're going to have a record number of African teams at next year's World Cup. With all that's happening internationally, is it not going to be a challenge? And how do you see it panning out?
Very, very good question. Let me start by making sure that we send a message to all our football supporters and fans and spectators on the continent that there's a deep, deep commitment to make sure that going to the stadium is safe and healthy. And there's a huge engagement that is currently underway within CAF and also talking to other confederations to see what measures they've taken, because in different parts of the world there's been huge incidences, and I'm confident we'll make progress, and because we need our young boys and girls and our families and mothers and fathers to come to the stadium knowing that it's a wonderful experience, and because for us as well, it's part of developing those communities and creating jobs and creating a future for our young people. So we're keeping a focus on that. The second issue is what's going to happen in the World Cup next year in the context of the challenges that are taking place. I'm confident that the World Cup in America, the World Cup in Canada and Mexico will be a huge, huge success. There's a lot of good work that Gianni Infantino has been doing. I sometimes get exposed to what he's been doing, spending a lot of time in America. But what I also like is there's a deep commitment by all of those countries to welcome the world and to make sure that they enjoy watching their national teams and those who don't have national teams in the competitions, watching football in those three countries.
President, we saw the quarterfinals playing midweek, where we had the big stage of the UEFA Champions League, and we saw fans turning out supporting African football. Is it something that we'll be seeing going forward, and is it also something that will motivate players to stop going overseas and just enjoy African football?
You know what will the players have to think about their families and think about themselves. So what will have a big impact in making sure that some of the best African players stay in Africa? We've got to pay them well. We have to pay them competitively, and I know from my experience, we used to compete with Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Greece, and would ask the players, okay, fine, how much are you earning there? And we can pay you. They would much rather be in Africa because they would like to be with their family. The food is nicer here anyway, and to be with your communities and your friends is something that's very fulfilling. But so it's important to make sure that we pay our players very well. It's also important, talking about the match that took place during the week. You know, I'm proud of what many of the African clubs are doing at huge sacrifice, and some of them at huge financial sacrifice because they don't have the resources, and some of the families have to use their own money, and I'm thankful for that and proud of that. But what I like is the quality of African football is consistently improving, and I'm going to look with keen interest when the 4 African clubs compete with the football clubs from the rest of the world in June and July, and because the success of club football has a huge impact on the success of your national team, and how your national team performs as well at FIFA competitions. So the future looks great, and I'm proud of the foundation that has been laid, because success doesn't come overnight. Success requires a huge amount of hard work and a huge amount of sacrifice and it requires teamwork, working together with everybody. And also what I emphasize is part of my job is to make sure that we've got leaders in CAF and in football that will continue the work when I'm not president anymore. Because all of us, you make your humble contribution, and you've got other important things to do, and there's a lot of exciting young talent, and I'm confident that the future leadership of football will do an excellent job.
Okay, President,
Thank you
let's
so
come
much.
this way, then after.